You just become more observant, and when you become more observant, you see solutions quicker and you solve things quicker. And it's a wonderful, powerful feeling. It's the one thing that we all have, the mind, right? But it's the one thing that we don't have a manual for. We buy a blender, we get a manual. Our iPhone comes with a manual. We get a car and it has a manual. Nobody teaches you how to use the mind. There's no manual for the mind. So this, I think, is one of the most essential things in making progress in our life, is really understanding how our mind works. It's the one thing that we have to live with 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We have no choice. Imagine if most of you slept 8 hours a day, which most of you don't. You slept and you were awake 16 hours a day. In the 16 hours you practice your awareness just randomly moving from one thing to another, to another, to another. All day practice being distracted. What would you be good at after 6 months? You did the 16 hours a day, you just allow your awareness to jump from one thing to another, to another. I'll tweet right now, I'll switch to text messaging, then I'll go to email. Oh, my phone's ringing, so I'll answer the phone. And then somebody's speaking to me, so I'll have 2 conversations at one time. And I'll just do this 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. So you get it being good at distracted. After 1 year, you're an expert at being distracted. After a year and a half, they'll invite you to give keynote talks on being distracted. You're so good, you practice 16 hours a day. So the same works for the opposite. If you practice being concentrated 16 hours a day, what would you become good at? You become good at concentrating. And all it takes is practice. By just doing one thing at a time. Keeping your awareness on one thing at a time. And you integrate this into everything that you do in your life. So the best way to do it is pick a few opportunities in your everyday life. For example, we all speak with people. When I speak with somebody, I give them my undivided attention. I keep my awareness on them, and the conversation is really brief. Why? Because we're concentrated. We're not being distracted. A 10-minute conversation normally just takes 3 minutes because you're just so focused. I define concentration as the ability to keep that awareness on one thing for a prolonged period of time. So if I can keep my awareness on Eric and not drift away and think about the wedding, or drift away and think about the vacation, or what I'm going to do later, then I'm concentrating on Eric. Every time it drifts away, I bring it back. And the more I practice this, the more I practice concentration. So concentration is the ability to keep your awareness on one thing for a prolonged period of time. And that's a very simple definition of concentration. How do you get better at concentration? You practice this. You practice this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it's the only way to get good at it. And what's the best way to practice it? The best way to practice it is to integrate it into everything that you do in your life. Not to meditate 10 minutes in the morning. It doesn't work. You really need to look at your life the same way a sprinter in the Olympics looks at his life. Take Usain Bolt, for example, the sprinter, right? I don't know much about him except he won 3 gold medals, fastest man on earth, from Jamaica. I can make an assumption, and tell me if I'm wrong, that his whole day is structured. That he eats the right kinds of food, drinks the right amount of water, he goes to the gym. If you look at the boy, he's ripped, right? Probably works out, runs every day, I'm sure, sprints, does all kinds of things. But his whole day is preparing him for 9.57 seconds or whatever it is his world record is. Not the other way around. You allowed your awareness to jump from one thing in your mind to another thing, to another thing, to another thing, to another thing, in an uncontrolled way. What would you be good at? And out of a prolonged concentration comes the wonderful power of observation. You just become more observant, and when you become more observant, you see solutions quicker and you solve things quicker. And it's a wonderful, powerful feeling when somebody is concentrated on you and not being distracted. So the best way is to integrate it into your everyday life. You're speaking with your spouse, give her or give him your undivided attention. So develop your awareness, integrate it into everything that you do in your life. And that's the best way you become good at. The next thing we need to develop is develop your will. Will is really important. Will is almost like a muscle in your mind, and you use that to pull and control your awareness and take it from one area of the mind to another. And the will needs to be developed, and same like concentration, if you don't cultivate the will, it doesn't grow. And this is something that really needs to be cultivated. How do you develop the will? There's 3 very simple ways to develop the will. 1 is you finish what you begin. 2 is you finish it well beyond your expectation, no matter how long it takes. 3 is you do a little bit more than you think you can do. All of those things require effort, and effort is will. It's so much easier to start a project than to finish a project, right? When you start a project, you're feeling creative, you're feeling inspired, you're full of energy. At the end of the project, you go, whose idea was this? So it requires tremendous amount of will to finish, and every time you complete something, you develop a little bit more will, and you have that muscle. And will is an amazing thing to develop, because once you develop will, that same will you can use in every aspect of your life to keep your awareness on one thing at a time, to finish projects, to see things through to the end, anything you want. The best way to develop will, bring it into your everyday life, into everything that you do. Give you an example, the way I integrate it into my everyday life, I try and finish what I begin. So for example, going to sleep. I sleep every night. So I put on my pajamas, I floss, I brush my teeth, I go to bed, I sleep, I wake up in the morning, I make the bed. Why? Because I'm finishing what I start. People make time for everything and everyone else in their life, but they never make time for themselves. If you go up to someone who you know and say, like, would you like to catch up for coffee? Let's do coffee. They're like, oh, I can't this week, but I can next week. How about Thursday, 7 p.m.? Perfect. I'll see you at this place. When was the last time someone was willing to take time out of their life to spend time with themselves? So if I wanted to get to know you, and we've had one dinner and had a great conversation, we're spending time here. If I wanted to get to know you, I would have to spend time with you. We'd have to meet up for coffee, a glass of wine. If I really want to get to know you, maybe we meet up once a week. Every Friday night we go out for a glass of wine, we chat for a couple of hours. After a year, I'd get to know you really well, you get to know me really well. But it requires me spending time with you. So if you want to get to know yourself, you need to spend time with yourself. But in a way that you can inquire, right? So people say to me things like, oh, I walk my dog in the park, that's my time with myself. And they're like, no, it's not. That's you walking the dog. And we go like, oh, I go for a jog, that's my alone time. No, that's you jogging, avoiding traffic, watching where you're stepping so you don't trip and fall over. Spending time with yourself is sitting down, closing your eyes, not interacting with the outside world, and actually going inside and having that conversation, the same conversation I would have with you and say like, hey Brian, so where did you grow up? You know, you said California, do you like to surf? No? Hate the water? Love the water? Tell me, right? And people don't have that conversation, and because they don't have that conversation with themselves, they don't end up knowing what they want in life. Because they don't know what they want in life, they can't focus that finite amount of energy, and then they don't live a lifestyle that brings them happiness. And most people end up being unhappy. Couple of things I would say. One is simplify your life. Everybody's so busy. Everybody's got a lot of things to do. We don't actually have a lot of things to do.
Right. We like being distracted because then we don't have to think about ourselves.
And we don't have priorities in life. Most people don't have clear priorities in life. You know, for me, my goal is to simplify my life, simplify the number of people in my life, and simplify the number of things in my life. We only have a finite amount of energy each day. Right? But every year, we have more people in our lives. Is that a fair statement? More Facebook friends, more people you're connected with, but your energy stays the same. So that's not a proportionate growth. If your energy is increasing every year proportionately with the number of things and people in your life, then we don't have to talk about this. But your energy level is the same. But the amount of people and things in your life are growing almost exponentially. So whereas that doesn't work. So for me, it's always about simplifying first the people and things into your life, into who and what's most important, taking that finite energy that you have each day and focusing. Second step is learning how to focus and concentrate that finite amount of energy into the people and things that truly matter. Now you start to create a lifestyle that you actually love because you're invested into people and things that matter. And the byproduct of that is happiness.
And you said happiness is not a goal. Is that correct?
Yes, happiness is not a goal. And if you ask most people, what do you want in life?
they say, I want to be happy. Right? Would that be a fair statement? I mean,
Yeah,
literally,
it's in the U.S. Constitution, I think, the pursuit of happiness.
the pursuit of happiness. I always say you should never pursue happiness. Don't pursue happiness. Pursue a lifestyle where the byproduct of that lifestyle is happiness. So happiness comes as a byproduct. I spend time with the people that I love. What is my byproduct? I'm happy. I spend time with people I don't like. I'm not happy. So don't pursue happiness. Pursue a lifestyle that gives happiness. But in order to pursue that lifestyle, you need to be clear what you want in life. What's your purpose in life? And people don't know this because they don't spend any time with themselves.